Okay, YouTube or anybody that's looking at doing a install on a wood burning fireplace insert wood stove. This I have finally fixed. I redid my install because I had an incompetent Pacific Energy dealer that was a complete nitwit, and this thing burned horribly. I mean, a forest wasn't enough to feed this thing. It had so many problems. That's in my other video. You can go look at it. But this thing is running top notch now. I'm getting twice the heat I was before. It cruises at about 600 or 700 degrees on the low, banked all the way down mode. Secondaries work, no problem. I couldn't even get secondaries before. And right now I am doing my last hot burn to cure in the paint. I use the Stove Bright Silver Metallic. But anyways, long story short, this is a little video on how to kind of do this yourself. I put a top plate in, Class A chimney pipe, 20 feet of Class A chimney pipe, not that flex liner junk. Rip that out, and this thing, it finally breathes. It runs nice and hot, gets up to temp, drafts right, doesn't fill up the house with smoke. It is like worlds better than the horrible install that that moron left us with. So long story short, if you're in Modesto, California, Central Valley, California, avoid Gorman stoves at all costs. They have no clue what the hell they're doing, and it's going to cost you a ton of frustration because Pacific Energy will always take the side of the dealer. They will not be involved between the dealer and the customer. Pacific Energy, it's a nice stove, a nice insert, but I will never buy another one of their products again. But unfortunately, I was stuck with this thing, $5,000 boat anchor, so I had to make it work. And I was completely out in the cold on my own, but I did it, and it works awesome. Like I said, bottom line here, guys, half the wood, twice the heat. This room heats up to like 90 degrees in the wintertime because our house is shaped like an L. But I can run this thing off of 1 bucket load of wood a day, and we're good. Before, I mean, I was like a wheelbarrow a day is what it took to keep this thing going, and it burns everything down to a fine powdery ash. I don't have big chunks of unburnt coals or anything. It works killer. I ran it for a week or so before I painted it to make sure everything was good, so I already kind of know how it burns other than just the painting. So anyways, guys, best of luck if you're kind of stuck in a hard spot and you got to install this yourself. There's going to be some tips in this video, and everything worked out great for me. It just took me a while to get enough time where I could get around to doing this. Have a good one. Bye. Okay guys, believe it or not, a lot of people have asked me to make this video about how I redid this chimney, a lot more than what I thought, so here it goes. This is after the install, after I burned it all winter long, and I'm doing the clean out, and it's actually springtime now, and I'm probably gonna have to sweep the chimney for the end of the season. So long story short, my son and I, who's about 14, did this, and we didn't have a third person to document or run the video camera while we were doing the work, so it's kind of in stages. But I'm gonna leave links that might not show the actual work, but I'll show how the work was done, so you'll get the idea. And everybody always asks for this on my project, so I'll just leave some links on Amazon to what kind of pipes I used. You can buy them wherever you want. I put in the video where I bought my stuff, and it wasn't Amazon, but you can look on there and you can see what the parts are, and you can go buy them wherever you want. But anyways, cruising on, everything works fine. This thing ran great this season. It's worlds better than it was before. Basically, long story short, cutting to the chase here, it is twice the heat I was getting before, and I'm using half the wood, and it runs properly when I damper it all the way down to basically all the way to the right, close it off, and it runs perfectly. Secondaries engaged, and it cruises at about 600 degrees, and I don't have to keep opening it back up again. So I'll get into all that later on in the video, but just want to let you guys know nothing changed. Happy with everything, and at the end of the video I'll show you up there what the chimney looks like on the outside, because I realized I forgot to do that. But enjoy the video. Hopefully this helps some people. A lot of people ask me questions about this, and my other video where I actually showed the problems with it, I'll put a link to that. You guys can see that before And I kind of just had to work on this over a couple of months to fix it when I had time here or there to do different projects and different sections of it. So it's kind of been just kind of a back burner project, work on it when you have the time kind of thing. And overall, it took me probably a couple of weekends to get it done. But I went the little extra mile. I did all those little finishing touches to make it a little bit nicer. So it actually worked out better than probably what I'd get off of a dealer if I had to hire somebody anyways. So anyways, hope this helps a lot of people, and good luck to you guys. Bye. Okay, today we get to take on the Summit Pacific Energy wood burning insert complete flub hack job from this guy who called himself a dealer in disgrace. Basically, what this guy did was he wanted to just hurry up, slam this thing through. He couldn't see past his own greed, and he wasn't a responsible dealer that's looking out for his client or customer's best interests of possibly having this thing for 20, 30 years. I'm going to show you how this install should be done now that I'm kind of educated myself a little bit, and I have to pull the unit all the way back out, start from scratch, but I'm going to do it right. But for anybody who's new to the channel, may as well show off an above ground view of the little orchard what we've got going on here. Those are all the plums and the pluots, and then the 4 different cherry trees and my avocado corpses that maybe I'll try again next year. But back to the star of the show now. There's all the creosote. Oh, I've got the liner down here, and this guy, this thing, this chimney, this was an existing chimney in the house. It's a triple stack, and it's vented on the side. It's actually a very high dollar tough unit. Some people call them solid stacks. So they don't build anything this tough today, let me tell you. So this thing is a solid wall chimney. And when you look down in here, I never had, and I put some lanterns down there so you can kind of see, but that is a straight shot all the way down to the pipe on the wood burning stove. Now there's a little metal bracket that I gotta get in there and I'm gonna cut out, but that is only like 1 season's, not even 1 season's, maybe half a season's worth of wood burning. And the whole damn thing, the pipe, the stove, everything was just packed full of creosote. So this was one of those 6-inch flexible liner things that you don't need in this. It's a straight shot. Why this guy didn't do solid pipe is beyond me. The diameter of this is 9-inch, so I'm probably going to put insulated ductwork all the way down there. But that's a 12-inch deep hole, and what really should have been done is these things need minimum 15, so it should have had about a 4-foot section coming out the top with stainless steel. That's how a true professional dealer would have done this. But this guy did it cheap and dirty, and he didn't charge me cheap and dirty. He just couldn't see past his own greed of coming in here, knocking this thing out in 2 hours, shoved the flex liner down, stuffed it in there, didn't even bother putting cement on it. Oh, it just makes me so mad. So anyways, I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but these units need 15 feet minimum. And we had about 12 feet of this flex duct. And on top of that, the flex duct, you subtract about 20%. So, I mean, we were basically running this thing off of like 9, 10 feet of chimney, and it was terrible. I mean, we smoked out the whole neighborhood. The only way I could ever get this thing to run right is I had to leave it almost wide open, which then you risk overfiring it. So the whole thing was just a complete, it was a dumpster fire of an install. And I got my money back out of the labor on the install. But if I had known that this kit was so worthless, I probably would have sued them for that too. There's more creosote. It's everywhere. There must be, oh God, it's all over the place. So anyways, this guy charged $700 for that liner going down in there. And the reason why I went with this company is because at the time they had this rebate, but you had to have it professionally installed to take advantage of the rebate for like, I don't know, $600-700. So that rebate for $700 has cost me way more than I ever would have thought. So now I'm gonna redo this myself. I got a hold of, that's the other thing is, once somebody sells you this unit, somebody else has made all the money, and nobody wants to come and touch these things after they've sold you the unit, because they make $2 or $3 grand off of selling you that $5,000 unit, which I don't even know why this guy did this. I never told him we wanted to go the cheapest way possible. I mean, this is like buying a Mercedes or a BMW and this dumb SOB put golf cart tires on it. I mean, go-kart. It's just, I don't know, it's inexcusable. Oh God, I can't believe it. So anyways, I'm gonna get back to fixing this thing and I'll document it and I'll show you guys what's going on. So here's a backed up view of what we've got going on the roof. Pretty much we're way beyond the 10-foot clearance, so I don't have any issues with that. But I want to get about that 15-16 feet, so there's going to be a stainless steel extension on there, and I'm probably going to run galvanized insulation down and adapt it somewhere into single pipe and then shove it right into that stove pipe with a little stove cement, and really try and do this the right way so it keeps that flue nice and hot all the way up there and we don't have this creosote factory. I mean, it was disgusting, guys. When I had 2 dealers come out and look at it, and they were so disgusted with what this guy did that, you know, words cannot express, but you know, they don't want to touch it because he already made all the money off of the stove, and it's a whole bunch of liability whoever puts it in and, you know, takes it out, and it's just a mess. If you guys go with one of these wood burners, try and do straight pipe whenever you can. That flex duct is really only worthwhile if you're going with some kind of a metal chimney. Like over here, you know, this guy, he's got a masonry chimney over there that got reworked. And, you know, you need a flex duct liner for something like that because you have to go around these bends. I don't have that. I have a straight shot and I'm underpiped. I'm only 12 feet, maybe 10 feet. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, and when you do the flex liner, you lose 20-25% of your draft too. So, I mean, effectively what we were running on was like a 9 or, yeah, maybe a 9-10 foot chimney. I mean, it was horrible, this thing. And then the guy comes over here in the middle of July when it's 105 and he says, oh, that's running fine. It's so hot in here I can barely stand it. It's like, well, yeah, you know, it's July. What do you expect, you dummy? So anyways, winter time, you couldn't heat a garage with that thing. It is terrible. So anyways, we're gonna go back to the drawing board. I found a really good chimney sweep, and he has a little lift dolly to suck that thing out of there because it weighs about 550 pounds, 600 pounds with all the fire brick and everything in there. They're heavy, and I'm not He-manning myself out of here. So he didn't want to mess with the install either, but he's willing to give me a hand lifting it out, and I'm kind of on my own. So if you guys do not get a quality dealer, Pacific Energy is not going to give a rat's ass about you. That's my biggest gripe about Pacific Energy. They don't give a damn about their customers. You spend $5,000 for that stove, they will take the dealer side every single time. So that is what I need everybody to understand more than anything. Pacific Energy will always side with the dealer. The customer, they don't really care about you. I mean, you're going to have that thing for 20 years. They'll probably never hear from you again, so they don't really care other than a little bit of word of mouth. So if you're thinking about getting a Pacific Energy, they make a nice unit so far. I'd like to think they do. I haven't had mine ever running right. But their dealers, they're the crapshoot. So I only have one dealer in my area. I'm in Modesto, California. It rhymes with Orman and starts with a G, so you can figure that out. The guy, he just could not see past his greed. He had to come in here. He slammed some garbage install job that, I don't know, they were in and out of here. He had that flue down there, shoved it in the thing, didn't pipe cement it, just shoved one screw in the face of it. Thing's all cockeyed and crooked in there, didn't draft worth a damn. He doesn't care. You know, he charged me $700 for that kit. And that was when online I looked at them, they're going for about $200 before all this, you know, inflation stuff took hold here. Now they're about $700, but he charged $700 for that kit, $5,000 for that stove, and $500 for the labor to install it. That dude made a ton of money. He had a professional responsibility to look at this, measure it, say, look, you don't have enough. It's not going to draft well. We need to put 4 more feet of pipe on top of that thing, put the straps on. I never told him that we only had to get this done for the cheapest amount possible. I would have been way more willing to have spent an extra $1,000 if we needed it to get a top-of-the-line job, because I plan on having that thing in there for 20, 30 years. I don't want to go through this again. Now I have to go through it all over again, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix it, and it's going to be awesome. The guy had this thing triple venting too. He didn't even bother looking at the job. I had to tell the guy that this is a vented chimney stack. So he had a hole in the top. The heat's pouring out there. The heat's pouring out there. And then that chimney is also vented factory on there. So this thing was dumping heat out 4 different ways. And it was under flue piped, running off of a, I don't know, a 9-foot flue, I think is what the math was telling me it was equivalent to, maybe 10. And I mean, it was just a creosote factory. That chimney pipe, in I don't know, 10 fires, it had so much crap caked on it, it wasn't even breathing anymore. It backdraft. It's terrible. So anyways, enough griping and whining. So let's get at it and try and fix it. All right, guys, that is the unit. We're gonna be, plan is here. He has a little dolly thing. He's gonna slide in and get underneath there. We're gonna back it out. Probably need one more towel here. Back it out and then go set it kind of over there so I can get into this thing. And when I get in here, since I'm pulling it out, it's always had this weird recess, so I'm going to brick up in there. And I'm going to put Roxol insulation around the back and put like a proper top cap up inside of there. I put some, I'll get a better view of here once we get it removed. But I put a couple lanterns in there so you can kind of see what's going on with this thing. But look at that whole thing. I don't know if I'm going to get the camera to see it just right, but it is just, it's packed completely full of soot. Absolutely stuffed. So when I get this out of here, I just wanted to take a little video of the before and after. So this is the before, you know, I've got some starter logs and stuff in there. And that dealership, or the dealer, that is a intake so it can breathe from the inside of the room for shipping. He left that in there, so it was choked off even more. You read the instruction manuals, it tells you in big bold printing to remove this thing. I mean, this guy had, I don't think he should even be in business doing these things. It's terrible. So anyways, let's get cracking. I think the chimney sweep that's coming along to help me is a little bit camera shy, so I'm going to shut it off when we pull it out, and I'm just going to show you guys after he leaves. Alright guys, what you're looking at is we finally broke ground on the project of ripping out my Pacific Energy wood burning insert. That was just burning terrible. But luckily that thing weighs, with the fire bricks and everything in there, we're pushing a good 600 pounds, I bet you. So I got a hold of a chimney sweep. We had one of these hydraulic lifts, and the guy took some pity on me here when he looked at how bad this install was. And we got the thing out, so it's a little bit messy. It's kind of a project here. But what the game plan is this was a hollow cavity that got bricked up a little bit later on. These were added after the fireplace. So there was like a 4.5, maybe, yeah, not 5, about a 4.5 inch drop down in there. So since I've got this guy out, what I did is I basically cut some bricks and measured it, planned it out just right. The bricks are just fillers. I painted a gas line that was over there red, so if anybody opens this up, they'll have a heads up that there's a gas line in there. Then I went to a scrapyard granite place, and I looked around, and they had a piece of granite that I was looking for, kind of a whitish color, and I paid a guy. He cut it out, just a rough template, throw it in there. So the game plan is, this has been in for about a week. It's all cured. I'm going to put a very thin coat of mortar, drop that in here, and the idea is to make it flush so it just slides right in there, and it more or less goes along with it. And then what I'm going to do after I get this in is I've got a whole bunch of Roxol from a different project, which is the ultimate fireproof insulation, better than fiberglass in anything. And I'm going to basically line this with the Roxol to insulate the firebox, maybe put a top cap in here, because once you get this stove in, it is tight. There's only a couple of inches in here, so whatever I do, I have to do while this beast is out. And oh God, I have one thing I should mention is down inside of this thing, we must have vacuumed out. I'm not kidding you, man. There was creosote. It was piled up in here like sand at the beach. It was it was up to the top, and we didn't run it that much, so clearly it's not. That's why I kept getting worse and worse and worse. But my God, one season of running, you should not have a mountain of creosote. It was crazy in there. And guy said, how long have you had this thing? So we've had it a few years, but we really only used it for like one season. He goes, oh my God, that's like, he goes, that's like something that'd be like in a decade of the thing running without any maintenance. He goes, that's terrible. So we vacuumed it out. Pacific Energy has this weird system where you have to pull a baffle down, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but I think I'm going to go for the single wall chimney vent, and I got a straight shot right up the top, so I'm going to go with the insulated right down the chimney, keep it nice and piping hot. I just don't know if I'm going to go single wall for about a foot before I get into the double, or just take the double wall and just shove it right into the hole and just, you know, fire cement that puppy up. And I really want this to work nice and toasty this time around. And one other thing I did is, since this is not a reason to pull it out, but that surround was not fitting quite right, and I had a fork that was kind of stuck over here because I was playing around with it. But the big culprit here was this brick. This is something you'd never do on a normal install, but this brick was holding the whole surround out, so I just ground that sucker down. Then I sort of flattened out the sides, traced out where it was. So hopefully when I put the surround in, that'll fit a little bit better and not be all kitty-wampus if it's not all bent up. So anyways, that's where we're at now, guys. Let's see if I can get a little bit of light here. So the plan is, oops, that's a timer for something else I got going on here. It's pizza time. I got a homemade pizza oven thing I'm working on. Works really well too. But anyways, I've got to put a block off plate. See this part right here? Right there is a ledge. So maybe it comes through a little bit better. I may as well just put the damn camera up there, right? So the game plan is, I'm going to put a ledge right there. I'm sorry, not a ledge, a block off plate. Just rest it right on top of that ledge on both sides, and then leave a little slot in the middle, maybe about 10 inches for the pipe to run right up the center. I took measurements on the wood burner, so I know exactly where that stack is going to land, and I'll just give myself a little extra leeway over there. And I measured everything out, so this slab is 3/4 of an inch. When I put 3/4 of an inch in there, I still have enough room. I'm not plugging up any of the gas lines. I can get to everything in there, and it should be flush. I had to kind of custom cut the bricks down a little bit, so when I put it in, it'll all be within about, I don't know, maybe about 1/8 of an inch, depending on how the mortar goes. So it should be real sweet. All right, guys, we're getting this thing done. That's going to be a screaming demon when I'm done, and it'll actually run right. I'm going to add 4 feet on the top of this chimney too, which will put it to about 15, 16 feet, and it should run pretty sweet. All right, looking forward to getting it done. Okay, guys, the install of the granite slab went pretty well. It's been a little while. I got a little tied up doing other things, but it worked out wonderfully. It's only about maybe about I don't know, maybe about an 1/8 tops. Probably maybe more like a 16th. A little bit of a lip there, but damn near perfect. And for an amateur brick mason, I'm not going to complain. I painted the gas line cap red over there just so in the future, you know, I'm going to do the insulation, and I'm going to kind of cut out a nice little trim around that, so it's always going to be visible, so that way somebody will kind of know what's going on here. But I kind of waited about I was going to wait about a week or two for that to slab to cure up underneath it before I put weight on it. And of course, holidays and such, we're going to end up getting busier, so this is kind of a slow fall project here. But anyways, it came out really well. That was the goal here, and it went all the way to the edges, and it's nice and it's flat, so everything should sit level. I don't know if I said this before, but there was about a 3.5 inch hole in there, so I even had to chisel off a little bit of the top surface of the bricks, which was kind of messy, but I got it in. Looks great. Now I've already cut a backup plate, or I'm sorry, not a backup plate, a top cap plate, I guess is what they call them, and that's going to go up inside of there, and I will show you what's going on here. That solid bar is what I'm going to screw into to secure the back of it, and it was lifting a little bit, so I actually cut a galvanized I made a brace to keep that piece from lifting up. It's gonna be a little hard to see, but anyways, let me go show you the cap I made, and we're gonna get this ball rolling. All right, and that is going to be my block off plate. You're looking at it upside down, or those little teeth are. The idea is those are going to hang onto the bar on the very back, and I can put screws through them to secure them. If you look up here in the very front, it's got some holes, and those are going to screw right into the very front part of the chimney. So it's going to be anchored in the front and then anchored in the back. And I even insulated this guy with the rock saw. It's basically, I took some headliner, like some 3M headliner glue. I glued that in place. It's not really a heat-proof glue, but who cares? It just has to hold it in shape basically until I can get it up in the top without shifting. And then after that, the chimney pipe's going to be, locking it in, and it'll just physically be there. So at that point, the glue can melt off, and who really cares? So let me flip this over, and I'll show you what it looks like the other way around. Like I said, this is basically going upside down right here. All right, and this is what it looks like right side up. The tin is on the bottom. The insulation is going to be up into the chimney, and it's basically these are going to be little ears to attach on the sides to anchor in the side, and then the other teeth that you saw before are going to go straight to the back. So that bar right there, those teeth are going to sit right on top of it. It's a little dirty, but there's basically a ledge there about 2 inches deep, and I'm just going to screw into that about 6 ways across the face or the back. So let me get it in, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, and here's what it looks like. The insulation fit perfectly, sleeves right in there. And then the weight is resting on that bar, but it has little tabs that are kicked down to keep it from lifting up, sliding around, moving around. And it's actually, fairly rigid. So the only thing I need to do is, once we get the stove in here, triple, quadruple measure, and cut about a 10-inch hole in there for an insulated pipe. And we're off and rolling. Time to call the sweep with the lift. All right, YouTube, today is the big day. The beast goes back in. So just to give you guys a heads up here, what I've done is we put the granite down here, and then I cut the hole in there, which is an insulated piece of tin. Sorry, I'm trying to get my flashlight just right here. Yeah, there it's on. So that is rock salt, just a piece of newspaper up there, plug in the draft overnight. And this stuff, I'll give you a little show in the garage. You can lay a torch on it and it doesn't combust. It's way better than fiberglass. I think it's spelled R-O-X-U-L. So today, the game plan is slide the stove in, drop it straight down. I think I'm gonna have to pull the stove forward a little bit. But while I'm at this, I may as well make a note for myself here. This is the unit that we have. I have a Summit Series B. I want to get this for myself, basically. It's one thing about YouTube. And in case it matters, a Model 602, blocked off my serial number. And it looks like we were either made or installed in 2017. Okay, so there we go. There's all my own numbers if I need them in the future. All right, so let me turn off my flashlight, put it in my other hand. Game plan here, guys, is furnace cement goes around the ring for the adapter, which I had to crimp to get it to drop in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep this with alcohol, rub it around here, the furnace cement, blop this in, take the baffle out, get up there with my hand, smear it smooth on the inside after we drop the pipe down in. Because it's a little, this hole has, I'll just go ahead and take this off. Sorry, fumbling. That is up there. So that is what it looks like. I pulled the damper over and I made a little bit of slop in here so I can go about a 1/2 inch either way and about 2 inches front to back to get this thing to play right, because I only have one shot at doing this. So after we get it all in, maybe I'll cut a piece of flashing and glue it back in with some high temp silicone. Don't really know. I'm gonna have to see how it goes. All right, let me show you the goods. And just by the way, in case you're wondering why there is a hole cut in there and there, and just to mention, that's plumber's tape strap, but there's a gas line there, painted it red, and this is so it can get some air where the secondary's intake. I didn't want to choke that off, so that would be the reason for that. All right, we're getting up to it. All right, before I give you guys a little rock salt demo, I'm gonna show you what I'm using here. These are stainless steel Class A pipe, double wall, and these are the stainless steel Duravent Duratec. I've got 2 5s, 2 4s, and a 2, so I'll have 20 feet by the time I'm done. And the plan is the 2, I'm just going to remove that with the cap for cleaning, because all the creosote winds up in the top for the 99% of it anyway. And I've got rings, a cap, the brace, a little storm collar, the whole shebang here. So it should be a first class install by the time we're done. And those are stainless liners, way better than that flex crap. The trick here, guys, try not to handle it because I don't want to stain it on the inside, but it's smooth wall. That gives you the true, let me turn on the light here, draft. So they just screw together. All right, before we get started on our little torch project, I thought I'd give this guy a plug. Northline Express, this guy came in about half the price. All this stuff cost me about $1,300. If I would have went with Northline, I'd be paying over $2 grand for it. So that was actually a pretty good deal. I think the guy's name was Sean. He gave me the hookup on this stuff. I actually ordered the 2 5-footers in galvanized, and either by mistake or whatever, but I actually got them in stainless steel. So anyways, this is the rock salt, boys and girls. Now, if you're trying to say that that's going to burn and catch fire, this is an open flame just cooking away at it. And the best it can get it to do is smolder a little bit. This is some kind of, I don't know, it's like a ground up rock or something like that, so you actually have to kind of cook the wool away. And I think it's more the pressure of the torch is what's doing it more than the heat. The exhaust kind of pushes it around, but I mean, this stuff is not going to combust with being next to a wood burner. I think it's rated for something like 2,000 degrees. So I mean, if it can take this, it can take anything sitting next to that pipe is going to do. So anyways, on with the install, boys and girls. We got 1 day to do this between the rainstorms, and I'm trying to get this baby done before the New Year's. Okay. Oh, small tip. Bread knife works really great at cutting that stuff. All right, see you later. Big plug to woodstovepro.com. Thank you, Sean. And that is the cap right there. Only thing that's kind of a pain is you got to kind of wire tie on that spark arrestor. Other than that, it's good to go. Okay, guys, she is in. It was a little bit of a challenge to get that pipe in the back. So basically, Austin and I, we kind of he-manned that thing in. We had to push the unit all the way back in, drop the pipe in, and then bring it forward a little bit once we got it in place. And this is stainless all the way up to the bottom. And I was just basically fighting it out with my top cap that I put in there. And I don't know if it's going to show up in the video, but there's a separate little plate here, about the size of one of these things. That inside there is a big oval cutout, so this had some slide back and forth. And then basically I just notched out around the pipe, put a couple of holes in there to put some fasteners, no glue, no anything, so that can be removed without tearing everything apart. Just taking out those 3 screws. But it is going to be very snug in here. So one thing is, nothing is actually going to be touching the stove. This is the top where the hot air shoots out under here. This piece is removable. I took it off to work. I just fought it back in there. So that really, really tightened up the room to work. I could barely get the screwdriver in without this on. But all the way around this thing, there's a couple of inches airspace, but it is insulated. So it's a little further deep inside than what I'd like, but so I'm gonna have to play with the kind of jigger my surrounds, because this brick was added in, which brings the face out like an extra 4 inches, which thank God it's a really big unit because it gets that pipe back there. I could have actually gotten away with one that's probably 2 or 3 inches deeper. So thank God it's long. All right, back to work. All right, guys, YouTube, we slayed the beast. We got this thing in. I had to kind of conjigger the trim a little bit here. This unit is sitting in about 2 inches more than normal, so these panels are normally square. I kind of had to tilt them in, cut off the little corners down there, which they had a point. They look kind of like this, so I just had to cut those, make enough room to tuck them in. Same thing on the other side, but it's in. It looks great. Got the chimney, and if anybody wants to see what the inside of a Summit looks like without the baffle plate, which, by the way, there's the pin. Do not lose that. You'll be royally screwed. But this is the inside. And every time you sweep this thing, I already put a gasket on here, but basically when you pull out that big baffle, this tube goes up, extends about a 1/4 of an inch above this, and that's where the cold air comes in. But that's what the top looks like right there. I'll take you for a trip. See if you can see daylight. So that is our beautiful, never fired stainless chimney right there. And I put some pipe cement around that first connector, and I have to do a little small fire to kind of cure that and then ease that up. So this is going to be my simple little fire. But that gasket up there, Pacific Energy sells them. They cost a ton, and there's a guy on one of these forums, Hog Wilds, I think, Hearth and Home, something like that. And he came up with the idea, you get 3/8 gasket, and you make a loop, and you tie it off on the back side, which I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's what it kind of looks like. That was my first attempt. And then the height of the shelf is about 8.5 inches on each side. I just cut one and threw it up there, and that's what I'm going to go for this first time around. And I found a neat little trick to make those things, so let me go show you how to make them pretty easy. All right, excuse my mess. This is my little project center here, but this is the hole, and what I found out really convenient, came up with this myself, is you get 2 toilet paper tubes, tie them together. It fits just about perfect, where then you can kind of have something to work with and wrap it around. These are my first 2 prototypes, so they're cut in the back, but imagine basically it's one loop all the way around if I didn't screw it up, and then right about here where they meet, you just tie them together kind of carefully. If you put too much tension on them, they start kind of unraveling themselves, but you basically just sit here with a toothpick and you get it in here and you just pick out all the little threads, tie it up, and you're good to go. This was the original gasket. It's pretty much had it, but in case anybody is wondering, this shelf, by the time you get it in, it's about 7 inches, so at 8.5, the firebox goes out to here. Since it likes to unravel, who cares about an extra inch? So I just threw them up there, and you could buy a big roll of this stuff. 3/8 round is what you want. Standard density, you don't want high density, too hard to squish down, because this is the thickness right here. It's already twice as thick as that. But you can buy a roll of this for like 13 bucks. So there's the homemade gasket for Pacific Energy. I think it works pretty much all these series with the same cold air induction. Alright, let's fire it up. Okay, well, that baffle's a bit of a fight to get in. I can see why some people say screw it and they leave the pin out, but you can really feel it suck down, and then once you get it lined up, the pin drops right in. You just have to push it in and twist it so it points down because it locks into something in the back. But what I found, this is a note to myself. Screwdrivers, pliers, tried a bunch of few things, but files work great because it has that tapered edge. So when you get it in here, you can poke it in the hole And as you go in, it tightens up, so you can jiggle this up and down and then move it side to side until it drops in place. And you shove the pin in and you're good to go. So that tapered end on that file works great for kind of pushing it around to get it to drop into place. So off to building our first new fire. Okay, and for the last finishing touch to give it a like new install feeling, I'm going to do a paint job on this. And a handy tip here, save all the cardboard that your chimney pipe comes in because it works great. Sort of trim off everything else around here. And what I'm using is Stove Bright, and I don't know if it's going to focus, but I have the metallic black. Well, I don't know why that's not focusing in, but okay. Well, anyways, metallic black is what I'm using. And the instructions, if you read them, it says don't use anything but acetone. No mineral spirits, no rubbing alcohol. So anyways, when we got this, it kind of had a metallic look about it. And it's a little bit blotchy. I'm going to tape off the very bottom. And then I'm going to shoot it. I'm not going to bother with the door. I'm just going to paint the inside, outside, trim and everything like that. And to keep this from being about 1,000,000 degrees here, I'm just going to do a before and after. So here's the before. I'm going to prep it up and I'll show you the after in a second. Alright, this is what it looks like after I shot it. Cardboard came in very handy to catch all the goop. And this is the silver metallic. And I'm going to pull the masking off tomorrow and let it fire and cure and everything else here on a little small fire. But I'll pull off the cardboard and show you what it looks like tomorrow. Alright, and this is what it looks like after the painting. I pulled off the tape. Left the cardboard on last night so things didn't make a big mess or whatever. And I'm going to clear all that up. But isn't it nice how that paint just kind of sparkles? I don't know if that's going to come across on the video, but it's like, it's a jeweled, I don't know, it just looks really, really nice. I like it. This is the black metallic. I'll show you the can in just a minute after I pull off all the cardboard and everything. But this is 2 cans worth of paint, and I wasn't going to paint the door, but I put it on, and it looked like it didn't belong. So I thought, what the hell? So I got some alcohol, rubbing alcohol with a toothbrush, scrubbed that up, and I painted it too. So everything matches. So now I got to do some small fires to cure them up before I put my magnets back on. All right, I'll show you what it looks like in just a second once I pull off the cardboard. All right, and here she is after all the cardboard's been peeled off and ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to build my first little small fire in here. And I think this is kind of like when you get it new, or at least that's the way I'm going to do it. You build like 3 small fires, increasing and then cool down between each cycle. I think that lets all the paint cure up and everything. So all right, onwards and upwards, guys, and I'll check back with you after I get the last fire done. And this is the final wrap up. I'm just doing my last hot burn to set the paint and cure it, and that is a silver metallic. And make sure you open up all your windows when you're doing this, because it does stink a bit. And rocking and rolling. This thing ought to work for 20 years now with no headaches. Okay, good luck. Hope this helps some people, and you know, people can heat their houses with some good old-fashioned wood. Okay guys, this is my last wrap up on this, and this is after I've done the install and I'm actually ready to sweep it out at the end of the season and everything. So this is kind of the final wrap up, and I hope this helped a lot of people. I'm gonna leave some links laying around or down in the bucket here, so you can look and find the products that I used and some of the other stuff that should help a lot of people get rid of the guesswork and the research. But this is the start of spring. There's my little peach tree throwing its blossoms, and my little plum trees down there are starting to blossom out. So oddly enough, we're going to get our coldest days coming up, so I might have to fire it back up in a few days. We're getting get back into the 28s just for a little bit of fun. But here is what the chimney looks like when I'm all done. I actually pulled off the ring here because I'm going to reseat the kind of the storm collar. I didn't really like the way that was sealed up. I used a mortar thing and it just sort of broke loose. So I'm going to use high temp silicone and reset that. But that's how the rods work, and I don't know if it's going to come through or not, but the collar is down below the seam on the 4-foot. So that's a 2-foot section on the very top that basically it just twists right off, and I can pull the cap, and I'm going to sweep it from there down, and I can pull the 2-foot cap off separately. So I was only going to do 15 feet, but when I looked at how these sticks work, and they need a certain amount of height to work right, so I decided, what the hell, I'll just go to a full 20, and if I don't like it, I could always take the 2 feet off, but I like it, works great. So now I have no problem with clearances to my next roof, and I was up there, I just decided to paint everything, make it look a little bit nicer when I get my collar back on there, which, here's the collar laying over there. I basically took the factory one, got a piece of tin, and I just enlarged it by doing a string of rivets all the way around, which, so now I got a nice 10-inch connection on there, which that gets the water nicely off of where I want it to be. But just so you guys know, what I've got is I painted under here. This is vented. The side right here is vented. And when I ran this, I ran it pretty much balls out. And I crawled up in my attic and I put my hand on it to make sure that I wasn't building up too much heat. And I recommend everybody do that. So, long story short, that's your best insurance policy. I just got in here since I had the collar off, did some painting, did all that other stuff. I made this plate and I siliconed it, so this is a block off plate for me on the, basically there's about an inch, 3/4 of an inch all the way around where heat was coming out of there. So I capped that, put cement paste in here, or cement, what is that? Fireplace cement, that's what I'm trying to think of. Packed that up, painted it all up nicely, let everything dry so it'll all look great. And I got to sweep this pretty soon. But all in all, I'm happy with it, guys. So I wish everybody luck. Have fun. Burn away.